Welcome to a new episode of TTG Conversations 5 Questions video series. I'm Karen Yu, Group Editor of TTG Asia Media. In this episode, we'll find out how hotels are waking up from hibernation and getting back to business now that travel is increasingly possible. And giving us insight on this topic is Garth Simmons, CEO of Accor South-east Asia, Japan and South Korea. Garth is an industry veteran with more than 3 decades of hospitality experience under his belt, and he has been with Accor since 2007. Happy to have you on the show, Garth.
Hey Karen, how you going? 3 decades sounds like it makes me old.
It's better than 30 years.
Yeah. I like to think I'm young. Anyway, but maybe that's what I tell my daughters. Very good.
All right, I've got 5 questions for you, and here's the first. Can you give us a background on how Accor hotel operations in Asia Pac were impacted throughout the past 2 years of travel disruption?
Yeah, sure. I suppose 2 years is amazing when you say 2 years. I was talking to someone the other day about it, and I think those 2 years have gone both quickly and slowly, right? So depending on where you were, but I was trying to picture where I was 2 years ago and what that looked like. We went through this time. How many forecasters, and Karen, you'd know this too, and how many people made forecasts of how quickly we'd be out of this and what it would look
Too
like?
many.
Too many, right? So, and everyone was wrong. We were wrong. Everyone was wrong. People were comparing it to SARS originally, and I saw the modelling. But we've gone through this time. The exciting thing though is that over the last 2 weeks for us in our region, we've had a lot of movement in those borders and announcements, which is fantastic. So super excited about that. But your question is about how we've gone the last 2 years. Like everyone, I mean, who could have pictured something that was going to be more impactful for our industry than what we've gone through? No one. I mean, it really impacted us in a major way. Not just us, but surrounding industries as well. The aviation industry got smashed as well, and we all had to recreate ourselves. We readapted. We restructured. We did many things at different levels, but for our hotels, one of the biggest things for us was we're looking at our properties, our people, so our heartists and our partners, and they were always at the top of mind for us, and working our way through that, because all of those spaces had different challenges, right? If it was we were looking to shelve hotels, what would that look like? How long should we close a hotel or not? Would be different, and what do we need to do to make sure we can reopen it in a good way at the other side? Our partners with their financing, making sure we're having those conversations. What would that look like? So these have been ongoing the whole time, and of course our people. We employ many people, and we've touched many people in our region, and actually something it's probably off the question a little bit, but I'll make a point of it. Something I was super proud of was in the April of 2020, not long after the start of COVID, we put to our board to create a Heartist Fund, and that Heartist Fund was at the time we asked for our directors, our board, to give permission not to pay dividends to our shareholders and use those dividends to place in a fund which would benefit our people and our partners that were on hard times and hardship through this time. So that ended up being 70 million euro. I would say that I'm super proud of that. We're the only company to do that. So we provided cash payments to people that needed that. We had many of our people that were at hard times, that weren't being able to be paid anymore. There was no revenue, and quite frankly, being able to put food on the table. So I was super proud of that. I was involved in every application. Our region here, Southeast Asia, we've given out over 65,000 grants of cash or assistance in that time, which actually makes up 70% of the Heartist Fund worldwide. So, and I have also said that's good and bad. Good, great that we had it. Bad, we needed it, right? And that's really a function of some of the governments we have and what programs they had as far as social security as well. Anyway, that's probably off the topic a little bit, but I'm super proud of that.
It's a good point.
Yeah. So our hotels, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, I suppose. Our properties, we've got the 12 countries that surround us, and it really relied and depended on what happened to borders and what that looked like. We got very creative. We were working in that quarantine space. in a big way with different governments depending on the properties. We had properties also that performed much better than 19. So anything, and what we found very quickly was anything that surrounded cities, major cities, that were, clear skies and a bit of freedom, they performed exceptionally well. We had some hotels that were sort of outside of places like Jakarta, for instance, and have done super well, just for people trying to get out of cities. The Maldives is one. Maldives has never traded better than it has during this time, and that's because it was open, right? That's ultimately because it was open. But we did that. But overall, we probably got more domestic. We got very domestic. Prior to COVID, the domestic market for our regions was a fairly small part of the market, made about 30%. Today it's about 70% of the business. Now that'll be interesting to see how that rebalances at the end of this. So the domestic markets were big. Food and beverage was massive. It's been really good in our properties, because domestically people wanted to go and do something because they couldn't travel. So that probably gives you a bit of a view. I know I made the point was that I wanted to make sure that we took this time to make sure we came out of COVID with a better quality of network than we went in, and that quality of network is making sure that we've got the right properties, right locations, right partners, and right people working for us, and we're continually working down that track. Something I also want to mention this too. We did a employment opinion survey just recently, which is we survey all of our people, and it's been a really tough year, right? A tough 2 years for our GMs and our people in the field. But I was super impressed that our positive engagement was over 92% for our people, for our GMs, and their department heads at about 88%. So I'm super proud of that, and that really comes down to actually communication, staying together. Heartist Fund was a big part of that as well, of course, but making sure that we cared. I think we've ultimately changed. We're sitting here, Karen, having this conversation virtually. I think the world's changed a little bit. We'll continue these sorts of this sort of communication, I would imagine. Is it something that you would have asked me 2 years ago and I'd say you would be doing this? Probably not. We held a conference just recently, and it was a conference for all of my region, and we purchased an online platform, and which was gamified, very interactive, and we had this conference. A lot of the sessions were taped, but we had this session over 4 days, so everyone could be involved in it, and we had 36 sessions, and we had all of our leaders with different disciplines giving information about our programs, what was happening here, what was happening there. And of course Q&A attached to all of those, and we had like over 10,000 questions asked live.
Amazing.
People, which was really good. So prior to COVID, I would not have been able to go to a conference and be able to touch over 3,000 people, of our people, our leaders, everywhere across the field at the same time. So I think we will continue doing those types, but there's nothing like getting out there in the field. I finished that conference, and then straight away I jumped on a plane, went to Bangkok, right? And so then you saw our people, which was exceptional, and everyone wants to engage. Everyone wants to engage, Karen. It's that's the one thing we'll see. I go to Jakarta on Sunday. I'm super excited about that. I haven't been back to Indonesia for 2 years. So
business travel is coming back, Garth.
Oh, it's coming, and it's coming quickly. I'm not even sure I've answered the question properly, Karen, but I've given a lot of information.
It does. It does. So now let's move on to the next question. So now we spoke about, governments in the region are moving ahead with travel resumption, easing local restrictions, which are so crucial for tourism resumption. Is this the right time to revive all the hotels that were put on ice during the pandemic?
Yeah, we've had, today we've got about 80% of our hotels that are fully open, right? So,
Great.
So the answer is yes. Going back to the conversation about the government, is this the right time for borders? Yeah, I mean, we've been keen for a while, right? I would say though, over this period of time, and I've heard a lot of criticism. Everyone's very critical of government, right? But what a tough situation for the governments to be in to make these decisions, right? They've got so many things they're considering. So to me, it's hard to be critical of governments because everyone has their own angle. Every country has their own concerns about the medical systems and the likes as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been super exciting for us in our industry to see the last 2 weeks those borders opening up. And yes, we're moving fairly swiftly in that space to open our properties. We've seen it already in some of the markets that have been open. There's a real desire and eagerness for people to travel. People want to get out there. I mean, I just told you about myself. I want to go and I want to see people. I want to see places. Anywhere that's been open, Karen, has been busy. Anywhere it's been open has been busy around the world. So my answer, I suppose, is tough on governments. Super happy that we're at a stage where everyone feels confident to travel. And if you haven't traveled yet, it's that I've been back and forth to Europe a few times and the like as well. But it's the taking the band-aid off. It's actually that first you're a bit concerned, you do it, and then go, okay. Now. It'll come with a rush, I think. So super excited. And listen, our countries here are just super exciting to go and to travel and to experience as well for people. So we're ready, we're keen, and it's time. It's time.
Super. Now you mentioned 80% of the properties are already back in business. So where is the bulk of these operations now?
Yeah. So. I suppose it's across the board, and if I looked at what we went through, I sort of mentioned some of the markets that were open. Our hotels in Maldives never closed, right? And so they're fully open. Areas that I've been super excited about and have been really resilient have been anywhere has a big domestic market and moving forward. Indonesia, for instance, has been really busy. You take away Bali, because Bali has a super reliance on international travel, which is starting to come back now. But we've got over 150 hotels in Indonesia, and that domestic market's been busy. They've been busy for some time now. They're traveling close to 19 levels already. Around Super Java and the like as well, because their business travel, their government travel, that resumed a long time ago. So that's good. We're starting to see some movement in Thailand, which is good. Vietnam, we're starting to see some movement now. So it really depends on as soon as the metrics are opened up as far as travel, then it starts to happen. So we are waiting for Japan still.
Me too.
Yeah, actually, I was in when I went to Bangkok. We had a media lunch, and we sort of took over and we started talking. And I actually asked everyone individually, when things open up, where do you want to travel to? And everyone to a person said Japan. So everyone's keen to go.
Be really busy with us.
Well, they've just got to open the doors, so that's very good.
Yep.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, so as Accor reopens its hotels across the region, what are some of the main challenges that have surfaced, and how is the company resolving them?
Yeah, so of course, we need to make sure that our hotels are in a state that feel comfortable, feel safe. We've had our All Safe program running through this period as well, which we'll keep as well, and we'll continue in that space because we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable. Because everyone also has that thing in the back of their head about, is this a safe place to be or not?
Yeah.
But overall, and you could ask anyone, mostly in our industry, is manpower. Manpower is right. So because we went through this process where we sort of slowed our headcount down a lot. We realigned, we reorganized, and we did all sorts of things like that. So what I'm getting out of our hotels and our regions now is manpower. That's the number one problem. But like I said, it's a good problem to have. It's a much better problem than the problem we had before, where we didn't have business. So, which is good. What are we doing in that space? It depends on the country. So we're brushed across 12 countries. Some are having more issues than others, and it's not actually about the number of people. To be fair, it's about getting people in different spaces. So it's about making sure that we're using our academies now, our training academies to train people again, to bring people back into regions where they might have gone home, might have gone somewhere else. We're upskilling our talents in that sort of space. We're redesigning our jobs. We're looking at technology, but then in a lot of cases we're working with government as well. So we're sitting here in Singapore, Karen, and one of the big things for us is that everyone went home. We've got a lot of international workforce here historically, and most of that workforce has gone home. We need to get them back. We need to get them back from places like Malaysia and the Philippines and the like to service our industry as we start to open up. So it's really about manpower, but the good thing is that, like I said, it's a good problem to have. That the business is starting to come back to put pressure on us as an industry as a whole. But everyone in our industry is talking about manpower.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, last question. As Accor reopens more of its properties, is there also a synchronized step up in consumer and trade marketing? What's happening in that space?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had plans. We had plans on plans to through these times about when it was going to open, but it was really about picking the right time and when we were going to do things. At the moment, everything's really focused. It has been really focused domestically because that's where the market's been. And we mentioned today, 70% of our business is domestic, where historically it's not. It's 10, 20, 30, depending on the country, when that inter-regional market opens. So we've been focused in that area. We've been focused in food and beverage, still in that space as well. We've launched regional campaigns. For us, it's called for the love of. I'm not sure if you've seen that, Karen.
Yes, I have.
And that beat for the love of cuisine, colour, culture, captivating Cambodia. We've got taglines for each of the areas, but really that has been domestic, and we're ready internationally. But we just need to understand the loads, the travel, and it's not just about opening the borders. It's also about aviation. And being able to okay, where are the seats, who's coming in, which country they're coming from, and then we'll push and drive in that space. So we're ready for that space, and keep an eye out for it because we're super excited about it. We're ready to go.
I can sense that excitement, Garth. That's all the questions I have for you.
Oh, good on you, Karen. Well, hopefully that was good, and looking forward to catching up very soon.
In person, for sure. Thank you so much for your time, Garth.
Thanks, Karen. Goodbye.
Past and future episodes of TTG Conversations 5 Questions can be found on the TTG YouTube channel. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see all of you in the next episode. Goodbye.